Hi, I'm Howard Lederer. To get the most out of sit and goes, you're going to have to learn how to master the bubble. It's a volatile time when your stack is getting short and the blinds are getting high and everyone's looking to cash. Here's what we're going to cover in today's lesson. The different payout structures in various sit and goes. First, we'll look at the typical sit and go where 3 players are paid out. Then we'll move on to take a look at a winner-take-all structure. Then we'll close out by taking a look at the short-handed play that you'll encounter at the end of a sit and go. Now, before we get into specifics, you have to understand that the payout structure should have a great effect on how you approach that late-stage play in a sit and go. Now, there are some sit and goes, such as satellites or winner-take-all, where there's only 1 spot paid, but more typically on full tilt, you're going to find that sit and goes pay out 3 spots. Here's the payout structure for a $100 buy-in 9-handed sit and go. So if you look at this structure, you'll see that first place gets 50%, second place gets 30%, and third place gets 20%. But don't let that 20% fool you. It's not really 20% for third, because once you get down to 3 players, all 3 players have locked in at least 20% of the prize pool. That means 60% of the prize money has been locked up and actually already paid out to all 3 players when you get to third. So essentially, the last 3 players are only fighting over 40% of the prize pool. 60% of the pool has already been paid out. That's why it's so important to make sure you get into the money. And you're going to have to make some decisions, some tight laydowns sometimes, to make sure that you get a piece of that 60%. So the last 3 players are fighting over that 40%. Let's look at how that money is distributed. If you look at it, to move up from third to second only gets you another 10%. You move from 20% to 30%. But if you can move up from third to first, you're going to go from 20% all the way up to 50%. So essentially, there's 3 times more reward for winning than just moving up a spot. And of course, if you finish third, well, you still had your 20%, but you get no extra payout. Okay, so here's a typical 4-handed situation. You're kind of in the middle of the pack here a little bit. Jeff has the chip lead. You've got 1 in 200 blinds. You're in the big blind, and Jeff has made it 600. Matt's going to fold here. Now, you really can't lay this hand down. This hand's a little too strong, so you do call, and you flop a pretty good flop here, and you check to see what Jeff's going to do, and he moves in, which is just kind of what you didn't want him to do. This is a situation where in most tournaments, early in the tournament, certainly this was early in the sit and go, you would call, or if this were late in the sit and go, if we're down to 3-handed, you would call. If you're in a cash game, you would call. But here's a special situation. You are on the bubble. They're about to award 60% of this prize pool, remember. And if you call here, you're probably about 50-50 to be the guy that finishes on the bubble and gets none of that 60%. And in fact, the other 3 guys all get to now share that 60% of which you've just missed out on. So here's that one situation where you need to really let the structure of a sit and go greatly influence your poker decision. Once the bubble bursts, that's great. You're down to 3-handed, you've locked up at least 20% of the prize pool, but your work isn't done. Now you need to start playing for first. You should be willing to put your chips at risk to give yourself that stack that can lead to a win. And there's no shame in finishing third at this point. You pick up a hand like Jack 9, like Ace Rag, and it looks like someone might be pushing you around, take a stand. Put your chips in the middle. It's okay. If you finish third, you are playing the structure properly. If you happen to win that hand, now you might put yourself in a great position to win. And remember, you're getting 3 times more for that win than moving up 1 spot to second. You don't want to be anting off your chips, limping up into second, and then not winning. That's not the way you play these structures. Okay, so now let's look at a typical type of sit and go you might find at full tilt poker, and that's the satellite sit and go. That's a sit and go where 1 spot is being paid, someone's going to get a seat into a tournament or win a tournament chip. Now you have to handle those situations very differently. It's much more